Hello, welcome to the Boot Room. Andy Warren and Stuart Watson here to look ahead to Ipswich Town's trip to Milton Keynes Dons this weekend. Stu, a game that we've all been kind of building up to for some time, thousand by thousand, week on week, but it's the game where 7,000 Ipswich fans take over Stadium MK for a really big game as the Blues look to push their way back into this promotion race. So I think we've both been pretty excited this one for a few weeks now, haven't we?
Yes, and Ipswich have made sure that we've been able to be excited going into it by navigating a couple of potential banana skins. Gillingham and Doncaster both seen off, and it sets it up for third versus ninth, just 9 points separating the two teams now. Just a few weeks ago, we were talking about Ipswich really were scrapping over sixth, possibly fifth, but it's bunched up at the top now. Sunderland and Wickham have been dropping points, and all of those playoff places look like they might potentially be in play. Certainly if Ipswich could go to Stadium MK and win. Just looking at the form guide, Ipswich obviously 6 wins in 8 under Kieran McKenna. MK Dons 5 wins in 8 during that period as well. And stylistically, two teams that play exactly the same way. They want to have the ball. They want to have possession. So a fascinating afternoon in store.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see which way that one shakes out. Ipswich had, I think it was over 70% of the ball at Doncaster the other night. You can't have that in this game. Neither team can have what they want to have. So it will be interesting to see how both sides adapt to make that fit. I think Kieran McKenna's insisted this game is not a beauty contest, hasn't he? It's a game for going to, getting points and scoring goals. So it'll be interesting to see how the two teams adapt from the way that they have been playing recently for this one, because they both can't do it. You can't both teams cannot dominate possession in this game. What will happen, Stu?
I don't know. In all 8 games, Ipswich have had the lion's share of possession since McKenna's arrived. This is going to be a major test of that. The fact that the pitch there is in pretty bad nick may play its part as well. You use the word adaptable in there. I think Kieran McKenna, we've seen, despite having sort of overarching principles in terms of how he wants the team to play, with the centre-backs coming out and possession and penetration, there's a pragmatism about him that he looks at every game and comes up with a bespoke plan for it. He talked quite in depth about the counter-attack threat of Doncaster and preventing that in midweek. And I think he'll look at this game on its own as well and find a way to try and exploit whatever MK Don's weaknesses. And there probably won't be too many because they're third in the table for a reason, but he will come up with the correct personnel, the correct tactics that he thinks is going to give Ipswich the best chance on the day. But you're right, something has to give in terms of the two teams. We shall see.
In terms of the tactical side of it, these things can be subtle, can't they? We can see the same players, the same 11 players playing a different way. That remains to be seen how that shakes out. But in terms of changing that personnel, there's kind of 2 areas of the pitch that we're probably going to be talking about now in terms of what he might change going into that. I think a back 4 of Walton in goal, Donatian, Wolfenden and Edmondson is a given. I think we would probably say that Wes Burns and Dominic Thompson, after his display at Doncaster the other night, are probably a given as well. We would also probably say that Sam Morsey coming back into the centre of midfield is a given. He's back from suspension. But in terms of who he partners, there's maybe a small amount of debate there. But the area that we really probably need to talk about once again is that front 3 of Ipswich Town. I was going back through them a minute ago, and I think McKenna's made, after sticking with the same 3 for the first 3 games, he's made at least 2 changes to that front 3, sometimes all 3, going into the next 5 games. So it was Bonne, Selina and Chaplin this time at Doncaster on Tuesday night. What do you reckon? What do you reckon for this one?
Quickly address the central midfield conversation. Sam Morsey comes straight back in. Of course, he does. Captain says he's been training like a warrior during this 2-week period. I think he could come back with a lot of pent-up aggression and competitive spirit. Hopefully not too much. Just treads that fine line just right to Sam Morsey. We don't want another red card, thank you. But I think Ipswich have missed him, despite the fact that they've won 3 of the 4 games during his absence. He just provides that sort of midfield thrust and aggression. If he's fit, Lee Evans partners him. It's a no-brainer for me. I think it's underestimated the qualities that Lee Evans brings to this side. He's in a little bit like sort of Cole Scouse. He's a bit of a player's player, someone that maybe is not fully appreciated for the way he's constantly there to take it off the back four and sort of spread those passes left and right. Him and Morsey were getting a really good understanding going when McKenna first came in. The only question mark is, of course, that Evans has just come back from a 3-game groin injury, and McKenna says he's not 100%, and we'll have to see how many minutes he's got available. If, for whatever reason, he couldn't play, I would say Tyreek Backenton's given himself a really good chance with his performance. I don't think it's fair to say he didn't hit the ground running at Ipswich Town, but I think you've seen development from game to game within him, and I thought his best performance came on Tuesday night. With Evans sitting deeper, he was able to get forwards and obviously got the goal as well. So he might have just put him in pole position to start alongside Sam Morsey if Lee Evans isn't available. But you're right, the front three is where the biggest area of debate is. First 3 games was kind of, what was it, Aluko, Norwood and Bonn were the chosen 3 to start with. And then equally, we've seen sort of Selina and Chaplin as the double number 10s in behind Bonn for 3 games as well. Both of those combinations that I've just said have had 3 games each. And then in between that, we've had a smattering of Caden Jackson appearing from left field and Joe Pigott appearing from left field. Neither of those are in the conversation for this one, are they? So I thought Selina and Chaplin did enough on Tuesday night to go again. I thought Selina added, we talked about them maybe being a little bit one-paced at times. I thought Selina added a bit more drive and thrust from that. And crucially, I thought him and Dominic Thompson struck up a really good relationship down that left side. So that's something to nurture. Chaplin's goals, I think, in general, just means that he has to get in the team alongside his sort of busyness. And then who do you play as the lone striker? Macaulay Bonn, 1 in 17 now, missed some big chances on Tuesday night. James Norwood, if I had to sort of bet my mortgage on which of those 2 strikers would put a big chance away when it came to them, my money would be on James Norwood, I would say. I think he's wasted when they play him out wide left. So I've gone around the houses there, but Selina and Chaplin in behind Norwood would be my personal preference. But let's be honest, Aluko looks good when he plays. Bonn might just need that confidence-boosting goal in front of 7,000 odd Ipswich fans. So it's a tough call. Where would you be going?
Bonn. Quite firmly Bonn. I'd go with an unchanged side apart from Morsey and for Backenton if that's possible. I'd stick with Bonn. I like the more of an element of control that he can bring to this side, and I think Bonn may possibly bring better and more out of Chaplin and Selina by just being that slightly more controlled presence than Norwood. I like James Norwood a lot. I like the instinct that he plays on. I like the positions he's able to take up, and I love it when he's on form and finishing. But for a game like this, I think you're going to need a bit of control in that final third. If you're going to play those 2 number 10s, I think I'd like Bonn to be the man to maybe help bring them into the game a little more. He does need a goal though, and I think you're right as well. Maybe if he can get a goal in front of that massive away following, which is going to look brilliant at Stadium MK. I particularly love it when away fans are on 2 levels and kind of. We've seen it before at MK with 3,500 like hulking around in the top corner. I remember Paul Lambert and his team kind of serenading them after victory back in the first League One season. But to fill that entire end on 2 levels is ridiculous. So the 2 men that I'd love to score in front of that following are Bersant Selina and Macaulay Bonn, because I think there could be scenes, limbs, what other adjectives you can chuck in there. But so yeah, I'd go Bonn. I think I'd go with an unchanged front 3 again in this one and hope that he can put away one of the chances he got into a good position for on Tuesday night.
Prediction time.
Haven't had 3 wins in a row to talk about, have we, in the league?
There's a pattern, isn't there, under McKenna?
Yeah.
We've got win-win-loss, win-win-loss, win-win. Got to break
Question
that
mark.
pattern, haven't they? We're
Yeah.
not. I would argue the last 2 games I would argue have been must-win because of the opposition. This one isn't must-win for me because there's still games to come against the likes of Plymouth, Oxford to come. There's 3 games at the back end of March against teams that they're vying for promotion positions. Probably need to win somewhere between 7 and 10 of their remaining 15 games now left. You might be able to get away with losing 3, 4, maybe 5 of those games, depending on how many draws there is in there. So we're not quite at must win, but it would feel damaging, wouldn't it? Having lost at Sheffield Wednesday a few weeks ago, that felt demoralising. You can't afford too many of those kind of gut punches, can you?
No.
It's a long way of saying, is a draw enough? Is a draw okay?
Are we both going to predict a draw? Because I've got 1-1 written down on my piece of paper. I think you've probably got the same, haven't you? We've done enough of these together. No?
I haven't. I have written down 0-0. My fear here is that 2 teams that don't concede many goals and have long spells keeping the ball might just counteract each other. And it might be a bit of a, dare I say it, not one for the neutrals, just long periods of 2 teams keeping the ball and could be goalless. And I think I'd be okay with that as a result, actually. I think it would just then take them back into another run of decent winnable games. What is it, 2 home games coming up after this one against, remind me?
One of them is Cheltenham. One of them is definitely Cheltenham. And the other one is off of my screen.
Dead air is good.
Burton Albion.
So I think I'd be comfortable with a draw from this one. Don't let the gap grow, and then see what they can do in those games coming up, and then away trips to places like Morecambe and Fleetwood on the horizon as well. So we'll see. We've both gone for a draw. A win would be great, though, wouldn't it?
It'd be brilliant. We've seen those 0-0s against Oxford time and time again, haven't we? That kind of game, decent enough football, cancel each other out. But hopefully we're talking about this one afterwards with a little bit more to talk about than a 0-0 draw, maybe even a win in front of 7,000 fans. Now that would really get the Ipswich Town motor going heading into a big back end of this season.